Good day traders, Stacey Burke from Stacey Burke Trading. Daily FX levels for the pound crosses. Thursday, April 30th. Today on our economic calendar at 7:45 a.m. New York Eastern Standard Time, we have the Euro main refinancing rate and the monetary policy statement. At 8:30 a.m. we have the Canadian GDP as well as the European press conference and the U.S. unemployment claims. First up, we have our pound Aussie. When we look at our 4-hour chart, the micro trend line that we had from yesterday is still intact, and we can see that that market just kept falling throughout the session yesterday. We are at major round numbers as we speak, 1.9000. This market has fallen 500 pips from last Friday, pretty much, and we are testing the lower boundary now of that 250 pip box at 1.9000. When we look at our 15-minute chart, we can see that that market, again, yesterday just worked its way down to the round numbers, dropped another 100 pips, consolidating into the close of the session before pinning in the rollover below the lows of the New York session. I've gone back. Some traders have asked me to use the colored boxes for the 3-hour windows of the Asia, London, and New York sessions. We've broken out in our second 3-hour window of the Asia high-low towards the 000 boundary, and currently as we head into the close of this last hour of our 4-hour window and into the Europe London Open, the market is currently testing that level. So how price reacts around this level will dictate if we potentially may fall another 50 pips or if this market may find some degree of support and pop back inside to possibly retest the highs of the day. Currently we are below the 00s and this market has been extremely weak. We have a consolidation above the numbers and dropping down and consolidating again. This market could definitely retest that 89.50 level. Next up, we have our pound Canadian. Looking at our 4-hour chart, this market had a micro double top below the 7,500 level before falling and consolidating and then breaking stops and falling towards the bottom of that 250 pip box. We have stops from 3 weeks ago down below that level around the 7,200 and 71.75 level. We do have a micro trend line that is still intact. This market could easily retest the 72.50 level and possibly head towards those stops in the lower 250 pip box. When we look at our 15-minute chart, if we just consolidate that, yesterday the market sold off from the 00s to the bottom of that 00 box at 7,300 before briefly breaking out in the US Open, consolidating, and then dropping below this morning in the US session. That market has consolidated inside of the Asia high-low as we head into the Asia Close Europe Open. We have a bit of a micro double bottom, and the market has come out of that area, that lower rectangle. How it handles the 7,300 level will be important. It will either reject that and roll over to retest the lows of the day, or possibly break above that 7,300 level and retest the highs of today as well as the highs of the New York session at 73.40. Currently we are below the 00s, but we have a micro rectangle breakout as well as we're testing the current high of the micro rectangle above that. Again, if we get above this 7,300 level, we could continue to test the highs of the day and the highs of the New York session. Next up, we have the pound Swiss. Again, our 4-hour chart. We had a breakout earlier this week, hitting stops from 2 weeks ago for pulling back and retesting that. The levels from 2 weeks ago, the highs, could be reacting as a flip zone now where sellers are becoming buyers as we've traded back through that zone and currently are above it. This market has the potential to test the highs of the week at 2200, heading towards the high of that 250 pip box at 1.2250. We do have a micro trend line on our 4-hour chart that is currently giving legs to this, possibly heading north. When we look at our 15-minute chart, we can see the market briefly broke down below that 2100 level last night with a 1 push, 2 push, 3 pushes before reversing in the US session to session highs at 2150 and consolidating into the close. The market then briefly pulled back in Asia, retesting that breakout level from the Asia-Europe rollover yesterday. We've broken above 2150. We have a micro trend line that is currently being respected by the market as we head into the Europe Open, heading towards stops from Tuesday's New York session highs at 2180 and highs of the day up above the 2200 level. So there's stops to be filled up top, and currently we are heading in that direction. When we look at our pound yen, again our 4-hour chart, this market broke down earlier in the week and went into consolidation before pinning the stops below the 3250 level and pulling back briefly. Still sideways in that 100 pip range. This market, if it was to break above that 3300 level, could certainly head towards the highs of the week above 3350. Looking at our 15-minute chart, again the market found a lot of buying strength below 3200, consolidating into the close near session highs, then pulling back briefly. This morning had a breakout in that second 3-hour window below the Asian lows, and then pulling back inside, currently inside of the Asian range, depending on how this market comes out of that. If it was to break session lows, we could certainly head back towards yesterday's US session lows and stops below 3230 and 3200. If we were to break above 3300, we could certainly head back towards Tuesday's New York highs, where there are orders sitting above 3340, and of course highs of the week at 3350. Currently we are below the double zeros, and how it handles that level will dictate where we head to from there. Pound New Zealand, again we had a micro trend line similar to the pound Aussie that this market has hugged as we headed towards the bottom of that 250 pip box at 2.0250. We pinned it briefly before pulling back. We're sitting above that level currently at the bottom of that box. When we look at our 15-minute chart, we can see the micro trend line from yesterday was just a gradual breakdown throughout the session before consolidating. This market broke out in the second 3-hour window below the Asian high-low, below the double zeros. It's pulling back currently as we speak. If this market can hold above 300, we could certainly see a retest of today's highs and yesterday's New York session swing highs. We have stops above these levels, 75 and of course at 415. If this market was to roll over off the 300 level, we could certainly retest 250 and possibly even down as low as 200. And last up, the British pound, USD. This market has consolidated underneath of the peak from earlier in the week that spiked the highs of that 250 pip box off 2500, pulled back briefly, pinned the lows near the low of the week, and then briefly retesting as we speak back towards the highs above 2485. So if we were to get above this 2500 level, we could certainly head towards stops that sit above 2575. When we go to our 15-minute chart, we can see where last night's US session broke and consolidated almost at the high of the day. In Asia, we had a stop hunt back into trades that were long from the New York session before consolidating, and in that second 3-hour window breaking above the highs of the day. As we head into the close of Asia and the open of Europe, we have a micro trend line. And if we were to get above yesterday's highs, above that 2480 level, we could certainly retest that 2500 level box and head towards stops sitting at 2520. Again, how it handles this upper part of the level close to the double zeros will dictate what happens. If we get above 2500, we could see the market take off from there quite strongly. If it was to reject 2500 again, we could roll over to the lows of the day and possibly the lows of New York and yesterday's overall lows. Just in closing, traders, mastery is not a function of genius or talent. It is a function of time and intense focus applied to a particular field of knowledge. Just to reinforce, focus on executing your trading process, the opens and closes of the sessions, stick to the highs and the lows. It's all about how price handles these levels. It's not about reacting and just getting in blindly at round numbers or at highs and lows. It's all about how the market handles those price levels when it arrives there. Have a great trading session. Hopefully you got value from today's video, traders. Stay disciplined, stay focused, and may the markets go with you.
Hi traders, it's Stacey Burke from Stacey Burke Trading. If you haven't done so, please head over to my website at staceyburketrading.com. I create updates on almost a daily basis, and I would love for you to receive them. Just click on the blog. If you want to enter your name and your email address, I'll send you my free audio program, the 7-Step Daily Routine for High Performance Traders. This is essential knowledge for all traders in all markets, and this is for helping traders to master the market with discipline, confidence, and a winning mindset. I appreciate all your feedback and comments. As always, traders, stay disciplined, and may the markets go with you.